I was watching this video today, which was really cool.
Okay.
Extremely cool. This guy I think he's an architect or a builder or something, and he's watching this footage of them building the Empire State Building. Okay. Which the construction methods and everything's just totally different than what they did, than what we use now.
Yeah, all totally illegal now.
Oh yeah, and it's amazing because every I-beam has got like 1 billion rivets in it, and they built this thing, and it's incredible. And the construction workers are wearing fedoras. No hard hat, not a single hard hat.
Really?
No, none. And they're like walking under beams that are hanging from cables, and they're walking out on the beams and climbing up.
I mean, the classic image is somebody sitting on an I-beam. Right? Were they called I-beams?
Those are all
lunch?
That's AI stuff.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
That's real. Here, let's get. I don't know why you brought it up, but let's get an image of it.
Well, the thing is, you can bring that up, but the thing is, at the end, the guy, and it was really interesting to see because you could see also, like along Fifth Avenue, you can see the people walking by as they're building, and there's like this little scaffolding preventing the entire pedestrian line of traffic from like falling into this giant hole.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Wow.
Oh, and what I really liked about it was at the end, and it was interesting, but at the end, I don't know who this guy is. I'm going to go look into him a little bit. He had an interesting commentary at the end, like a morality lesson about, he was like showing the picture. He goes, can you imagine coming to work every day and looking up at this thing and saying, I'm going up there and I'm going to be like walking on the edge. And these guys just seem so fearless.
Yeah.
And all of these construction methods were totally new. Nobody knew. Do you know that they built the Empire State Building in a little over 400 days? You've seen the build?
I knew it was about a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your mother, my wife, had a store in the Empire State Building.
Yeah, right.
I looked at some office space there back in the 90s, and I didn't like it.
No,
it wasn't modern enough for me. I didn't like it that much. But, it gives you a respect for the construction business and for these guys and people who they drew up the plans. There it is. Look at those rivets.
Yeah.
Look at the hats they're wearing.
Yeah. Those aren't fedoras. I know what you mean.
And look at that guy there with the hat. He's obviously the signaler. The guy with the hat there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see that guy. Yep.
Yeah, he's the big cheese. Look at these guys.
Yeah, they don't wear hard hats.
Yeah,
but look how high up they are.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Now they're putting up the facade. Look at that. That's amazing. I don't know. A lot of people who aren't from New York may not be interested in this, but it's amazing to me. I always wanted to go to the top.
Let's see. Look at them walking.
Yeah.
They just had it there. Look at all those people. There are people walking around up there.
Right. There are a lot of shots where these guys are like walking on scaffolding and things with like no rail.
Right. That's what I mean.
No rail.
That's what I mean. Here we go. Let's see. Is this real?
I don't know.
Man.
This looks like, come on.
I don't know. That's crazy.
Man.
Look how far out he is.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's crazy. Just scooting right out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they have, and the hole where they're digging and putting in the foundation and everything, they put in tons of concrete. It's a total mess. It's like there's no organization, but it has to be organized. And that was one of the things that this guy was saying. Organization, the proof of organization is productivity. And these guys were very, very organized in what they had machines like putting rivets in, and it was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
You have to watch it. You have to watch this video. And
one of the big reasons that construction now is it takes so long is because every time a new building goes up,
right,
they have to do an environmental impact survey.
Right.
That takes a really long time. They basically have to study, and they have to hire all these consulting firms and everything and produce a whole paper on what the impact on the environment will be for your building. How many fish are going to go without water and how much energy is it going to, all that stuff. And it takes forever to do. and there's no result from doing it. You don't
Right.
have to actually do anything as a result of this paper. You just have to publish it.
Right.
So you have to spend all this time and money doing that, and only once that's out do they get to actually even start building. So that's why it takes years now to get new buildings. You can't pop up an Empire State Building in a year now.
It's amazing, and the courage that it took to do that kind of stuff is ridiculous. My I was starting to say my aunt took me up to the top of the Empire State Building one day. I was a little kid, I was probably 8 years old.
Okay.
And I remember it so clearly. We went up, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Because we always talked as kids, like, "You ever been to the top of the Empire State Building?" Most New Yorkers have never been.
Of course not.
You know. So she wanted to make sure that I was. She was cool. She lived down in the village, in Greenwich Village, and I went down. I spent the night at her house, and we took the subway up, and we went up to the top. And the first thing I wanted to do was to engage the myth. Right? The myth was that if you dropped a penny off of the Empire State Building, and if it hit somebody, it would go right through their head, right through their skull, and kill them.
Okay.
Which wonders, like, what was I thinking as a little kid? I'm going to take a penny, I'm going to throw it off the Empire State Building and see what happens. What if I kill somebody?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I did, and I could tell you,
killed somebody?
No. I stood there. I remember there was like a little gift shop up there, and she bought me a hot dog, and I was eating a hot dog, and it was super windy. It's really windy. And I stood at the end, and I don't think they had, I don't know what it's like now. They probably have like clear glass up there now.
Probably.
At that time, it was just like netting, out off in the distance. So you can, it didn't feel like there was much.
There must have been some sort of fence, right?
Yeah. Plus there was like I think it was wrought iron or something,
that
something
makes
like
sense.
that at the time. And I remember looking, and you could see Long Island, you could see all of New Jersey and the Bronx and Brooklyn and everything else. And so I reached in my pocket, I had the penny, and I took the penny, and I tossed it out, and it went up. And I'm like, it went up. It's supposed to go down.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
So a draft took it.
It was a fail.
Yeah, the wind took the penny.
Total fail. Yeah.
That's funny. We were talking about before we started recording the medical system and doctors and what doctors are capable of, right?
Right. Yeah.
And you were saying that treatments you've gotten are usually focused on symptoms,
right,
instead of actually finding the root cause. And I find that to be the case too. When I was going to mention when I had my shoulder looked at, right? I mean, I had chronic shoulder pain for years and years and years, and I went to PT like multiple times.
I remember you were still in high school, I think, when you got that pain there. Yeah.
And it just feels like a deep ache. And I eventually went to some better doctors for it, because the PT, I mean, they mean well, but they really they give you some stabilization exercises. They don't know what's wrong with it. And the whole thing was, I don't know what's wrong, and they don't either. And they put on this sort of face of expertise, because they're supposed to know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So they kind of beat around the bush when it comes to like, well, what is it? Because they don't like to say, I don't know. They don't like to say that. So they say, well, you could have some muscles that just need to be stable. And it just goes over and over and over. It's like cycles. And I think everybody experiences that with different symptoms of different things. So eventually I went to some better doctors, and the one guy that I was seeing said, okay, I'm going to refer you to this other guy. He's a musculoskeletal expert.
Yeah.
Because I think he might be interested in this.
I remember that. He was a world-renowned guy.
Yeah, and I went to him, and he was very good. Yeah. He was very knowledgeable.
Right.
And he actually liked that I was asking questions. And he did just a little test, a physical test. He just like grabbed my arm and made me do a certain thing. He's like, "Yep, you have exactly what I thought. You have basically it's a tight pectoralis minor.
Look up the condition. Let's see what it is.
Oh, I'm not going to be able to find it now.
No,
but
okay.
It's basically that's tight. Pulls your shoulder forward. It creates a whole bunch of problems. It's like it's short and it's tight. So he wanted to cut it. They just cut that muscle, your pec minor.
You don't need it.
Yeah, they just like cutting it. And the truth is, I get why they do it. It solves that problem, because you no longer have that. And as far as they know, the pec minor doesn't do that much. It stabilizes maybe a little bit, but he even compared it to the appendix. He said it's like the appendix of your muscles. It's like you don't need it. So it's like a vestige of
I don't know.
of times past. So I didn't want to cut. because I just know that they don't know 100%. And I mean, even with the appendix, right? They found out the appendix does something.
It's necessary, yeah.
It's necessary.
Right.
It has to do with your microbiome. It's like important.
Yep.
And this was before they started really studying the importance of the microbiome.
Kind of the same thing with tonsils too.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
once they studied that, they're like, oh, the appendix actually is important. Like you can live without it,
Right.
but you won't be as healthy as you would be with a healthy appendix. So I want a healthy pec minor. I don't just want to cut it.
Okay, so I remember that. So the one question that I had for you at the time, because you were doing a lot of working. That was part of the reason why you were having problems, because you were working out pretty vigorously at that time, I think.
No, I could not work out vigorously.
Yeah.
I can't work out because of it. That's the whole thing.
But I remember the guy telling you that he's got bodybuilders
Oh yeah, they love it.
that they slice it and then they go, hey, come cut my other one.
Yeah, he wants the other one cut because the range of motion, all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, like I can do more.
No, that's not good. I don't know, there's something wrong with that.
Yeah, so I didn't want it cut. I did not get it cut. Instead, I decided to try and fix it
Right.
myself.
Right.
And I basically used stretching, and I did routine stretching every day, as well as building up the muscles around it. And I think at this point I've pretty much solved the problem, or at least almost.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have that pain anymore.
Oh, wow.
And that's something I had for.
You never told me that it was kind of gone.
Yeah, I mean, I had it for basically 10 years almost.
Wow.
Yeah, and I over the past 6 months to a year, it's gone down considerably. It's probably about 80% gone now.
That's from stretching.
It is from stretching, mostly stretching.
So that's PT.
It is PT, but it's actually stretching and also massage, I should say. It's not just stretching.
Right.
Stretch and massage for a release when it feels tight.
Yeah.
And when I first discovered it was the pec minor, I took a tennis ball. Now this is pain in my shoulder, and I took a tennis ball and I just put it into where the pec minor is.
Right.
You kind of reach under it this way, and it was like I held it there for like 20 seconds, and all of a sudden after it was like, oh my God, my shoulder pain's gone. Like that's not even in my shoulder, and I did that, my shoulder pain went away, and I knew right away that was it.
Yeah.
And by stretching it and massaging it, I've helped it.
Well,
they wanted to cut it though. I didn't want to cut it. They wanted to treat a symptom.
You know what they were going to relieve the symptom.
Yep.
Relieve the symptom.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I have an issue with my throat.
Yeah.
With my vocal cords. And I don't like what's going on with my vocal cords, and I need my voice for a lot of different reasons. And they want to treat symptoms. They give me sprays. They're giving me all these things. I'm going through this whole process where they're checking my ears and my hearing and my throat and all this other stuff. There's nothing bad going on. There's no tumors or anything like that.
No.
But they're trying to get to the cause of this. And I'm a person who uses my throat a lot. Singers have this all the time. I'm seeing the top people. I'm up at Mass General up there, looking at the voice center up there, or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And I've got top doctors looking at it. So we're pursuing it.
I mean, you're the voice of our meditation app.
Yes,
so
I am.
We need to keep that
I
healthy.
need to keep my voice.
Yeah.
Need to keep it.
Yeah, but so my point with the doctors is that even though they wanted to treat the symptoms,
Right.
and I wanted to actually find a solution that's more in line with like how we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
How our muscles are supposed to be. You're not supposed to cut that.
Right.
I still got diagnosed. They still knew more. I went to better doctors and they did know more, and they did isolate the problem,
Right.
which is something I didn't have for years and years.
Yeah.
So I was happy. I was grateful for that.
Excellent. Well, keep it up.
Yeah.
And I wanted to mention about PT. PT, the thing I liked about PT, I learned a few things from going to PT. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I learned, you talk about stretching, is like these tremendous, I never used to stretch before working out. I mean, I would a little bit. I'd, pull my hamstrings and stretch out my hamstrings and stuff like that, my quads.
Yeah.
But, man, I'm telling you, stretching my back and stretching my spine and doing things that I learned in PT.
Yeah.
Tremendous difference.
Right.
Makes a tremendous difference in your workout.
Stretch before you work out.
What I wanted to mention to you, I've been meaning to talk to you about this, is pizza.
Yeah.
Right? You know that in a couple of weeks.
What do you mean we've been meaning? We talk about pizza all the time.
On the podcast?
It was in the last podcast we talked about pizza.
I want to talk about one particular aspect of pizza.
Okay.
And that is this thing about New Haven pizza.
Yeah.
Right?
Ah-beetz.
Ah-beetz.
That's what they call it.
Ah-beetz, yeah. So the New Haven pizza is not a pizza, it's a beets.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, when I was a kid growing up in the Bronx, I lived in an Italian neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I had this friend, his name was Frankie Russo, and I used to go over to his house. His he was very Italian American. His whole family was. His grandfather and his grandmother were from the other side. Or they say the other side.
Yeah.
They didn't even speak English. Okay. And I learned a lot about Italian American cooking and Italian American. I'm not Italian, but the neighborhood is Italian, you know. And I learned a lot about a lot of Italian American foods. I learned what gabagool is, right? I didn't like the gabagool, but pasta fazool and macaroni and gravy. You know, they never said pasta. They never said pasta. Nobody ever said pasta.
Oh yeah.
No, never. It was macaroni.
Okay.
And they never said sauce. It wasn't tomato sauce. It was gravy.
Yeah.
You know. Now, you know, there's argument over certain nights of the week it's gravy, other nights of the week it's sauce, whatever. I don't know. I don't get into all that. One of the things we used to order at my friend's house was pizza, but they never called it pizza. It was called Ah-beetz. Ah-beetz. The grandfather always said Ah-beetz. Hey, you have the Ah-beetz. And that's the whole family called it Ah-beetz.
Okay.
Which I thought was kind of strange because it was pizza to me.
Yeah.
And that's when I was a little kid.
And this is in New York.
This is in New York.
Okay.
In early 60s. I'm probably like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old. I was pretty young. And so they called it Ah-beetz, and the grandfather called it Ah-beetz. And what I found out is it comes from the word, they used to say la pizza, la pizza, la pizza, la pizza, or la pizza, which is like a word from Italy somewhere.
Obviously.
Yeah. And it started off, pizza was it was a word for like a flatbread that they used to give in feudal times. They would give to the bishops as rent, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. People didn't have a lot of money, so you would have to like bake stuff and make stuff and give it to the hierarchy.
Okay.
And they'd let you live on the land. And one of the things that they did was every Christmas, it was traditional that they would give this like flatbread, like pita, like I don't know what the etymology is, but I'll bet pita bread and pita pizza. I don't know. I bet it's kind of related there. I didn't look it up, but
it's a good guess, I guess.
Yeah, it's a guess. But they had pizza, and you would have to bake 12 loaves of pizza and give it to the bishops, and he'd let you live there. That was your rent. Anyway, that tradition carried over with the immigrants into New York when they came into New York, and they set up pizza shops. And there's a whole study in that history and how they, and how they did that. But one of the guys was this guy in the early 20s was, I don't know his first name, but I guess it's Pepe. Is that his last name or first name?
I don't know.
Pepe's Pizza.
I thought it was Frank Pepe.
Oh, Frank Pepe. Yeah. Frank Pepe moved from New York to New Haven, and they said, Ah-beetz, Apizza, because he spoke Italian. And not only that, but they changed the recipe. It's not New York pizza.
Yeah.
He changed that. It's not the same thing. It's not the same product. The bake is different. The dough is different. How they make the dough. The sauce is just tomato sauce, right? And they don't use mozzarella.
They don't?
No.
Oh.
You can get it with mozzarella, but they use a lot of Romano cheese. I don't know the whole recipe, but it's not the same product. And when you go,
they put mozzarella on the pizza.
I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe they mix it with other stuff. Not like in New York though. And it's not sliced the same.
I've heard of people putting provolone on.
I've heard of that.
I don't really want that.
I've heard of that. Yeah, sure. It's probably good. It's probably really good. But Ah-beetz is not pizza. So there's this whole controversy about how New Haven is the pizza capital of the world.
Yeah.
It's not. That's not pizza. That's Ah-beetz.
Well, they declared themselves the pizza capital of the world for a press conference.
Right.
Right.
And they put the word Ah-beetz on the boxes and on the signage.
Yeah.
It's not pizza.
I mean, it's spelled A-P-I-Z-Z-A, right?
Apizza, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the same word with an A in front.
Right.
Okay. And it's bread, sauce, and cheese.
Right.
So it's not that, and it's sliced into triangles.
Right.
So you're not going to convince many people it's not pizza.
Yeah.
You're just going to convince them it's a different type of pizza.
Right. So do 336.
Okay.
And it is, an opinion thing, but at the same time, it's not New Haven pizza. Ah-beetz is just better. 1 + 1 is 2. New Haven style pizza is better than all the rest. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, you've been saying that. So let's just get it on the record here one final time from the self-proclaimed pizza king. You're a Boston boy. You grew up on the North Shore. You've hit all these pizza spots, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey. And by the way, New York and New Jersey try to claim the best pizza. Nobody beats Connecticut's pizza, right, Dave? I mean, please know your audience here.
Well, listen, I've said this for a long time. That region, New Haven, Connecticut, where you can throw a baseball from Sally's to Pepe's and just walk to Modern, nothing beats it. It's the best pizza city, not only in the country, in the world. I've done this in Italy. I've done it everywhere. It's the best pizza in the world in Southern Connecticut, no doubt.
How about that, Connecticut? From the man who coined the phrase, one bite, everybody knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Portnoy, he owns that space.
Sure.
He declares
pizza.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his thing.
Yeah.
That's it. Nobody does it better than he does, right? The pizza. I've seen pizza reviews, and they try to imitate him. He does it the best, and he's the king of the pizza, right? But he's a New Englander. He's biased. That's totally different pizza. He has a particular kind that he likes, and the Ah-beetz fits that mold, right? It's not pizza. Ah-beetz is not pizza. You can't say you're the pizza capital of the world when you make Ah-beetz, which is a different cook. It's a different dough. It's a different cheese. It's a different slice. Everything is different about it. Now, that being said, wait a minute. I got to tell you, it's delicious. It's wonderful. I love it. We're going there. I go there once a year, and I always have Ah-beetz. But they didn't even make up the word. They stole the word from the New York immigrants too.
Okay.
They didn't invent anything.
Listen. It's pizza.
It's not pizza.
It's clearly pizza. It looks more like pizza than other styles of pizza.
It looks more like pizza than filet mignon.
It looks more like pizza than Chicago style. Deep dish.
That's true.
Deep dish is arguably not pizza. Less pizza than Ah-beetz is.
Well, if you're going to say that, then Sicilian pizza is not pizza, right?
If you're going to say that about Ah-beetz, then you better say Sicilian isn't pizza. How can you claim Sicilian style is pizza, which some people call, I don't know, people call it grandma pie or whatever.
Nobody ever called, that's all new stuff.
I'm using that because a lot of people aren't from New York and they might not know what that is. I don't know what people know outside of New York when it comes to pizza. Sicilian style pizza.
Yeah.
Is that pizza? Yes or no? Say yes or no. Is Sicilian pizza? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Is Ah-beetz pizza?
Do you think that?
Yes or no? Is Ah-beetz pizza? Yes or no? How can you say Sicilian is pizza when it looks totally different than a New York style thin crust pizza? And then say Ah-beetz isn't pizza?
It's an adaptation. It's a modification. Frank Pepe reinvented it for his own use.
He didn't reinvent it.
He changed
it's a change.
It's the only all over the country. Everyone is trying to imitate New York pizza. They're not trying to imitate New Haven pizza because it's not pizza. It's Ah-beetz.
I know, but I'm just saying, how can you say Sicilian pizza is pizza when it is more different from thin crust pizza than Ah-beetz is?
Because it's a regional adaptation made in the pizza shops.
You're describing Ah-beetz. That also fits Ah-beetz. It's the same thing.
No,
you're not convincing anybody. You're not convincing anybody.
They're using the same ingredients in the Sicilian pizza. One is Napolitan and the other is Sicilian.
So they're not using the same ingredients.
They are using the same ingredients. They just
they're different. Is what you're saying.
It's the same dough as the pizza. It's the same sauce and it's the same mozzarella.
No, Ah-beetz.
Ah-beetz is different.
How is it different? Is it dough?
It's a dough.
Is it tomato sauce?
It's tomato sauce.
Is it mozzarella?
No.
Yes, it is.
I don't think so.
You eat it. You know. You tell me right now, is it mozzarella?
It's some sort of...
Is there mozzarella involved?
It's a Frankenstein cheese.
Is there mozzarella involved?
I think you can... Mozzarella is a topping in New Haven.
No, this is not true.
Yes.
This is completely false.
Yes.
This is fake news, everybody. This is not true. Look,
it's delicious. I love it. It's fantastic.
So if I look up modern,
the texture is not the same.
Modern is one of the names of the shops.
Yeah, Modern, Sally's.
That's one of the shops.
And Pepe's.
Okay. Why are these pizzas? I mean, these pictures are so
You're going by how it looks.
Here you go. Here's a picture.
So what is that? You don't know if that's mozzarella. That could be oatmeal on there.
I mean, I get it. It looks a bit like...
It's very, very tomatoey.
Like volcanic. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'm going to be there in a couple of weeks.
That's
I'm going to find
mozzarella.
out. I'm going to find out
Come on.
again.
That's
I'm going to
ridiculous.
Pepe's. I've never been to Pepe's. I've been to Sally's, been to Modern. I've had the Pepe's pizza. You had the Pepe's pizza. You
Yeah,
had it
I
up
did.
in New Haven, I think.
Yes,
you
I
had
did.
it. Yeah, it wasn't that good.
It was okay.
It was okay.
I like New York pizza.
Yeah, it's okay. It's absolutely fantastic. When you go there to the original location,
Yeah.
right? I've had the original pizza from the location on takeout. I never sat there in the restaurant,
Yeah.
in the shop and ate it, which I'll be doing in a couple of weeks. But I'll let you know.
Okay.
It's Ah-beetz is not pizza.
It is pizza. It's a different type of pizza. It's clearly a different type of pizza.
So you agree? New Haven is the pizza capital of the world.
No, I don't agree. They can sell pizza and it's still pizza.
I know, but they can't make such a declaration when they took it out of New York, moved it up there, changed the recipe, changed the name, stole the name from the Italians in New York, put it on a box, put it on a sign. It's branding. All it is branding.
Why do you insist that it's not pizza?
Because it's not the same. It's not the original pizza that came over that they started to make when they landed in New York.
And?
It's something different.
Okay.
Okay, look.
right.
Is a quarter pounder a hamburger?
Yes.
Not really.
Okay. No. You're destroying your own argument right now. You just ruined your entire
All
argument.
right.
The analogy you came up with just completely disproved your own point. So
Well, all right. Well,
okay.
in another couple of weeks, I'm going to be in the Bronx. I'm going to bring a pizza back from Tommy's in Throg's Neck.
You can do that.
In the Bronx.
Tommy's is pretty good.
That'll be pizza.
Tommy's is good. The other place is good too.
Yeah, what's the name of that place? That was the baker on Arthur Avenue.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the place.
Oh man,
I don't know why.
Adios.
Adios. Yeah, good pizza.
Really good.
I wanted to talk to you about something completely different. I wanted to talk to you about Trump's disparate impact executive order.
Okay. I don't know
about
that
this?
much about it. I know what happened. I don't know that much about it.
Okay. Do you know what disparate impact liability is?
I've heard. I know the expression. I've heard the term. I know. I understand it as a policy. I don't know all that much about it now.
Okay, so basically the concept is this, okay? We already know that you can't discriminate based on race or gender or any protected class like that, right?
Right.
It's like you can't have a policy as an employer, let's say, that says we don't hire blacks or we don't hire Irish or we don't hire whites or whatever it is. Okay, you can't have that.
Right.
But disparate impact liability goes further. It goes way further, actually. I would argue it's a completely different concept. It's saying not only are you not allowed to be racist, but you're also not allowed to have neutral policies that, as a result of their implementation, cause different outcomes for different groups of people based on race or sex or anything like that. So, for example, if you had the original case was actually from the Supreme Court in the 70s. Basically, it was a Supreme Court case that said, listen, this company wants to hire people. They have a test that you have to pass in order to get hired or to get promoted, something like that. It's basically an IQ test. It's a competency test, okay. And black people are failing that test at a way higher rate than white people, resulting in more white people getting promoted or getting hired than black people.
Who's administering this test?
The company.
Okay.
The company. So even though the test itself is not racist, you're not targeting any particular race, the result is that more black people fail the test, so you can't use it. Does that make sense?
Well, I can, yeah, it doesn't make, yeah, okay.
You have to have equality of outcome.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds unfair.
It's basically the opposite of hiring based on merit. Okay? Because you have a certain competency that you want for a specific job, right? I mean, any employer would have that, right?
Obviously.
And you need to test or try and figure out who meets that level of competency and who doesn't.
Right.
That you have to do that.
Sure.
Okay. The problem is whether it's culture or whatever the reasons are, education, when you have certain protected classes of people, which are going to be gender, basically it's going to be, it could be disabled, it could be age, but also gender and race. When you have certain groups of people that don't perform as well on whatever tests or metrics you're using in order to hire, that's illegal. Mm-hmm. That's what disparate impact liability says. That's illegal. That was made illegal in the 70s. It was codified into law in basically the 90s. So we have this system where if you have a test and let's say black people fail the test more than white people, so you end up hiring more white people as a result, not as a result of your racism, but as a result of a neutral test,
right?
You're doing something that's against the law.
Okay,
and
so
you're going to be sued and you're going to be found guilty, or you're going to be found liable, and you're going to have to get rid of your test and you're going to have to hire differently.
Okay, so the same thing would apply. Therefore, let's say somebody applies for a job and he's 85 years old and he's got some cognitive decline.
Yeah,
because of his age.
Right.
You can't not hire him.
That's the thing. It's such a ridiculous concept that it doesn't work in practice. So they'll take specific cases where it's so obviously absurd,
right,
and be like, well, I guess that's okay or whatever. So they've defanged it in a few different ways. But at the same time, the concept itself, like as an ideology, is totally wrong. It totally doesn't work, because it's saying instead of meritocracy, instead of competency, we need to focus on basically race-based and gender-based outcomes.
Right.
Here, we need to make sure there's an equal amount of, or a proportional amount of people for each race, for each gender, for each class. So that's how it works, and that's been the going standard for basically 50 years now, essentially. Right. And Trump just put an executive order out like a week or two ago, where he just eliminated it. He said, we're done with it. Now,
so I can imagine people coming along and saying he just legalized discrimination.
Right, but it's not even discrimination. It's just saying that test is unfair because one group didn't do as well on it than another group.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Right.
And it's not the employer's fault in the case of like a legitimate neutral test, let's say for competency, if one group isn't performing up to the same level as another group. So what I was going to say is Trump just had an executive order where he essentially says we're done with it. We're not doing that anymore. It's meritocracy now.
Right.
The problem is he can't do that. He can have an order that says, as a federal government, we will no longer be pursuing cases that arise as a result of this law.
Yeah.
But he can't undo legislation. He can't undo Supreme Court case law. Right. But what he can do is he can set up the battle. He can set up the circumstance where somebody will sue, and it'll go to the Supreme Court. And we know the Supreme Court, it leans very heavily in a conservative direction right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not even conservative. They're just more common sense. They're just looking at ridiculous decisions. We've had so many ridiculous decisions in the last, 50 to 100 years.
Right.
They'll look at it and say, this doesn't make any sense. We're undoing it. So that's probably what they'll do.
Yeah. So that's something that can take a long time to get to filter through.
It could. I mean, the affirmative action case took a long time too. That took years and years. I mean, I was in college when it was first filed, and the decision didn't even come out till last year. Right.
Right. Sure.
And it came out in favor of common sense, basically. It's like, no, you can't put a quota on the number of people from different races.
Harvard being the center of attention on that.
Being the center of attention.
Harvard's got quite a history of really some pretty bad practices. I mean, back in the early days of Harvard, I don't even know if it's like the real early. Harvard's old.
Yeah.
But I mean, they had the Ku Klux Klan had a center there at Harvard.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
Isn't that crazy?
Ku Klux Klan Center, Student Center.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Right. And they had their clubs. A lot of very racist clubs were formed there and ran there. I guess they're not there anymore. No. But there's been a lot of hatred for Jews.
Yeah. So we'll see if a Supreme Court case gets filed. I wouldn't be surprised if it does. But when you look at
you don't know. They could be waiting in the wings to file this right away. This could just be a precursor to that, something that they intend to.
Oh yeah, I mean, lawyers,
they're lining up.
They have plans years and years ahead of time for stuff like this. 100%.
They're not just going to wait till something happens. They're going to make something happen and then.
But think about physical fitness tests for police departments, fire departments, stuff like that. They have to do the same thing for women versus men. So, men have to do 20 pull-ups or 30 pull-ups. Women have to do 14 or whatever it is.
Right.
And you have cases filed along those lines too. But what happens is, even though, honestly, you don't see that many cases filed on the grounds of disparate impact liability. You don't see a lot of cases filed like, hey, they won't hire me. I'm white. I can't get hired because they decided the test wasn't fair or something like that. You don't see that many of them. But the reason is that companies have designed their hiring practices in order to avoid things like this.
Right.
They're afraid of being sued. So they're the ones that don't promote people, don't hire people that they would otherwise, out of fear of being sued for not hiring or promoting enough of another race. They're the ones that do. There was a case in I think it was 2016, and it was a fire department. And what it was they had a test, and they found that it was something like 19 white men qualified based on this test. One Hispanic man qualified, and only one black guy qualified. So you had 19 white, one black, one Hispanic. And as a result, the fire department was like, we're just not promoting anybody. This is
really, was this New York?
We're not touching this. I don't know where it was, but they were afraid of getting sued.
Right.
They were afraid of getting sued
Yeah.
under disparate impact liability. So they didn't promote anybody.
Right.
So you have good people who can't get promoted or can't get hired
Right.
out of fear. So even though a case doesn't have to be brought, you can see how it would affect hiring practices out of fear. It freezes people.
Yeah, and also wow, that would totally demoralize the people that qualified for the job and did well.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think they're the ones who sued, and the Supreme Court found it was one of those rulings that just beats around the bush.
Right.
They were like, well, actually, the fire department, yes, they should have promoted you, but only because they didn't have a reason to believe that they were violating the law. Which is like, no, clearly they did. And the dissent, which were the liberals, like Ginsburg,
Yeah.
I think she wrote the dissent, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was like, no, clearly they had reason to believe they'd violate the law if they promoted them.
Right.
And they would have. That would have violated the law.
Sure.
Which is a ridiculous law.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it'll get overturned. I think it will.
All right. Well, we had a lot of I had a lot of things I wanted to talk about, but we didn't get to it.
And it is your birthday.
Oh, yes, it is my birthday.
So happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much.
It'll be past your birthday by the time this goes out, but it's
Probably.
your birthday right now.
Yeah.
And your cake is really good.
I haven't seen it.
Kristen made a good cake.
Kristen, she made a good cake. Yeah.
In fact, I'm having a sugar crash right
So
now.
you tasted it?
I tasted some components, yes.
Oh, wow. So
Okay.
you helped. You must have helped her.
No.
Oh, she did it all.
No,
on
I
her
didn't
own.
help.
You don't have
I'm the
time.
taste
You don't-
tester.
You don't have time for that.
All right.
Okay, that's cool.
All right, so we're done.
Yes, we are.
All right, goodbye.
Bye.